It's a wonderful Sunday evening here, and want to welcome everybody. Just waiting for my panelists to join. We'll be starting very, very shortly. So thanks for joining in, and really appreciate your time. Really appreciate the fact that all of you have taken out time today on this wonderful Sunday evening. Good evening, Prabhu.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Super. Just a second. Let me just confirm that we are live now. How are you doing?
All good. I think Vipul has to come into stage.
Yeah. He's coming, yeah. I think he will be coming in, Prabhu. Anyway, wonderful. We'll just join in.
After a long time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for me, it's like we do it quite often, but...
No, what we are meeting after a long time.
Oh, yes, we are meeting after a long time, I think.
Yeah.
I think we met only once after you left your previous
Yeah.
Now, where are you settled?
Right now, I'm in my native, Salem. So, I moved to Bombay.
Super. So, I think
Almost
we are live. So, let's just... sorry, go on, Prabhu.
Yeah, please.
No, I think we are live. Let me just... Akhil, anyone, audience here, can you just tell us if you can see us? Everything good? So that we could get started in the interest of time while the others join in. Right, Prabhu?
Yeah.
I think because we are live right now on all the social channels as well, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and also on YouTube. So in the interest of time, I think we will just probably do a soft intro.
Yeah.
Just want to take a moment to thank all the people who are going to watch this video. Really want to appreciate that, you're taking out your precious time on a Sunday evening, tuning into, what the thoughts and, the ideas that we have. So deep appreciation and really appreciate, taking out time. Prabhu, I thought that was important, right? I think all of them who are joining us, they're taking out their precious Sunday and really wonderful.
Yeah, especially Sunday is like
Family day, right?
everybody favorite, right? So spending time for us, which is very much appreciated.
So this is also, we also say that with phone, we are a lot like family. There's a lot of people who come in. We do about 400, we've done about, 500 odd webinars, 500 odd sessions. And it's like a family. So it's really wonderful. Even Sundays, we say like it is still family time. So anyway, just waiting. I'm just checking for Vipul as well as the other panelist as well.
Eunice.
Mohammed Yunus, is it?
Yeah.
First time I'm meeting him, so would love to catch up. Yes. I think Vipul is now coming in. Vipul is backstage, so there is Vipul. Vipul's joined us. Hi, Vipul. Good evening. Good evening.
Hi, Vipul.
Vipul, you're not audible?
Vipul, you are not audible.
Are you connected to a Bluetooth or anything? No. Okay, then just... or if you have another program at the background, one of the other conferencing, I request that you get out of that. So Akhil, I think you can just coordinate with Vipul, bring him in. Yunus, hi. Do I call you Yunus or Mohammed?
Hi, pretty anything is fine. Whatever is comfortable for you, anything is fine.
So whatever you like.
So I call him as a Eunice. So
Eunice,
you follow that.
Fine.
Wonderful. Hi, Eunice. Wonderful to have you with us.
Sure. I hope I'm pretty clear. Voice and video is clear.
You look great. You sound great. It's all great. So wonderful. Thanks again for joining in. So while I think Vipul comes, we could start, Prabhu, with some basic introductions, and Vipul will join us, of course. So really wonderful initiative. Thanks, Prabhu, for putting it together, for thinking and ideating it out. Thanks to again the Eunice as well as Vipul for coming together and taking this to the next stage. So super excited while we wait for Vipul. This is, of course, we're calling it. This is a Fintech series. Vipul, can you hear? Can you just say hi, Vipul? Still, there's some issue there. You're not able to hear Vipul for some reason.
No, Vipul, we are not able to hear you.
I'm guessing it's one of the other conferencing apps in your background. They do that. If you maybe uninstall, get out of those quickly.
Maybe you can close.
Maybe you can try with some other browser as well.
Yeah, you could just try with the different. Or just close this tab. Yeah. Thanks for troubleshooting with phone like that. But really wonderful.
Next person we have to write.
yeah, of course. Thank you, and it's wonderful to see others troubleshoot with phone for me. It's beautiful.
Yes.
So this is SmartMoney. So wonderful, concept. SmartMoney 2024 to make it more relevant for today. Powering India's Fintech and BFSI transformation. Right? I think we have wonderful panelists with us. So the idea is really to talk about accelerating India's financial sector through innovation. So that's the theme today. That's the topic. So I think Prabhu, you should get started because you took the lead with the whole thing. Over to you.
Yes, so
definitely, there's no question about that.
Facing a first ball will be a challenge, but I try to deal with it a better way.
No, I think that's the toughest part. People coming and doing that first thing is the toughest. So then people can come in. So awesome. Over to you. Quick introduction and your thoughts. Yeah.
First of all, very thank you to Jagat for making us on board and creating such platform. And I'm very happy to see you after some long time and Vipul and Eunice in a panel. So that's very great to see, right? And I believe this will go for further and it will grow for whatever we mean. So the idea, what I was thought, right? So everybody is exploring a day to day, right? As a profession, as a individual, and as a social, right? So can we bring something on some stage and take a interesting use case and which can be discussed? Like we are all in a different personas, right? So today, right? So I'm being in the field of innovation, and my colleague Eunice is in a cybersecurity space, and people being a banker, and you are in a fintech, and we can have different personas. So how are we seeing, right? So if we take something called mobile, so how we are thinking towards that, so that will help us to understand more from the different perspective. We will learn each other, and which will contribute some value add to the ecosystem, and viewers, or they can also get in touch with us and we will learn and grow each other. So that's the thought. I thought of taking this idea to you, and you help us to make today, and we should be very helpful, and we should be very thankful for that. Yeah, thank you.
Super. No, no, I think all
Yeah.
the credit to you. So,
And about myself, yes. So for all, I'm Prabhu, and I'm from Salem, Tamil Nadu. So I have more than 14 years of experience in the space of BFSI. Specifically, I've been in IT, MNC IT companies, and I've been in regulator aspects, and I've been in a fintech company. So a kind of mixed experience I carry, and mostly I part of new initiatives or technology or innovation space. So I would love to talk these topics in very detail.
super. Again, all credit to you for getting it started. We are happy to support. Vipul, I want you to say hi. I hope I can hear your voice. We're still with the same problem. Vipul, why don't you pop in through your mobile phone if needed? Yeah, because I think there's some issue or you might have to restart or something. I'm not sure. But the test session went okay, so it's okay. You can take your time, Vipul. Take your time. Akhil can also coordinate our team. Happens. Life happens.
Yeah, life comes with the
And
struggle. It's okay. We will troubleshoot.
I'm not sure why most people come in. Sometimes what's happening, we're seeing when people, have a Bluetooth on sometimes. Sometimes you see that. It does not connect to the right kind of
Yes, yes,
network.
yes, yes, yes,
So when you
yes.
have multiple conferencing apps as well, when they're on your desktop and they are, been engaged, they're not been quit. So they have taken the video and voice resources sometimes. So these are technical things. So we'll get that addressed. Over to you, Eunice. Wonderful to meet you for the first time. So I'd love to hear a bit of an intro about yourself and yeah, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Jagat. And first of all, I would like to thank Prabhu for making this initiative, first of all. So we were talking just 2 weeks back, and he was saying, "Why can't we do something like this?" And yeah, I'm pretty interested. So he has immediately taken a call and just, without any further delays, he just looped in everybody and made a great forum like this. And of course, the word what he used is, let's share knowledge, because see, we are running towards one goal, which is ultimately finance, or to bring in some innovation to the public. So of course we are running towards the common goal, so why can't we share our experiences, because we are from different expertise. Like Prabhu is a subject matter expert of complete innovations, so completely he has worked in different domains of BFSI, but his common goal is innovation. So ideally he can talk, if you give him a topic like innovation, he can talk for a full day. So I come from a background of BFSI plus IT plus cybersecurity. So it's a mixed bag of experience. I think Vipul is from core banking domain with fintech experience. So ideally, you are like a subject matter expertise of complete everything. Why can't we come together and share knowledge? So that's the crux. So about myself, I am Mohammed Yunus. So I hold 14 plus years of experience with BFSI. Under BFSI, I had worked into different roles, starting from operations till IT, and doing projects for BFSI like digitization. So during the demonetization time, we have worked on projects with multiple regulators, and now I have jumped into the field of cybersecurity. So, like the core crux of this agenda is, like, parallelly one side we are simplifying the journey of finance. Like if you see from barbarian system like exchange between exchange, then the exchange between the commodity exchange, and it turned into money. And now we are today in 2024 we are sitting and talking about smart money. So I think now everybody is living in a big cities like Mumbai, Bangalore. So we don't carry money in our pocket more than 2,000 rupees. Can buy. So that much is the growth of technology. And ideally, my view will be of this entire discussion will be, there are parallelly more risks also in the cyber era. So this is a quick heads up to begin this conversation. Thank you, Jagat, once again, and thank you, Prabhu. Let's be aligned to the topic.
We'll try. We'll try. But anyway, I think so. Super. Vipul, say hi for me.
Hi Jagat. Hi Jagat. Can you hear me now? So you know
Okay.
what I just did? I quickly demonstrated how seamlessly you can shift from the laptop to the mobile phone and maintain quality.
That's
That's
true.
what I was trying to go for. Yeah.
Vipul, you are one of the earliest backers for us, and I'm always grateful to you. Getting I think when you were back in your gig at NASCOM, I think unbelievable. Thanks for all the support. If it's not for you, definitely we would not be doing what we are doing now. So, you
No,
know,
Jagat, I'm very grateful for that, and I think what I loved about in even our initial interaction was that you were very clear about what you wanted and the product that you wanted to create. It's very rare to come across founders who have that level of grit in terms of being able to do what they want to do, and that also aligns very closely with the discussions that we plan to have today. What Prabhu can touch upon, what Mohammed can touch upon in terms of how do you build that grit when you want to be able to create a good fintech solution, bank with the top banks, and also look at cybersecurity as a good sort of an input in terms of how do you build that. So great to have you here and great to have you host this conversation as well, Jagat. Thank you so much.
so a quick introduction. I think for those who don't know Vipul, I want Vipul, a few minutes you can just take and talk about your own journey and your learnings. I think you've been exposed to so much, in your time. I wouldn't say in your young life, but anymore. But I think definitely you've seen a lot of different things. I don't want to go into, I know the details, but for the audience, Vipul, a quick introduction from your end.
Thank you so much for that, Jagat. So I started off my career with Johnson and Johnson, where I was responsible for creating new products for Asia. This was in the healthcare and medical side of it. Went on to GE in a similar role, similar capacity, and from there I actually entered the startup ecosystem via an organization called Growth Story. So we invested in companies like Big Basket, Oyo, Fresh Menu, Portia, Bluestone. A lot more names to throw around, but a lot of them are now unicorns, mostly in the B2C segment. Worked with the founders, investors to scale up these startups from the ground up. Post that, I was with the 10th on Startups program at NASCOM, where I had the good fortune to meet Jagat as well. We were focusing on building the ecosystem for the B2C segment. We were looking at AI, ML, and other deep tech technologies and how we can create an ecosystem for them. Post that, I was with Kotak Mahindra Bank, heading the collaborations with fintechs and startups for the bank. Also had the good fortune to work with RBI and other regulatory bodies in terms of scaling up and building documents in terms of figuring out how the collaborations can be done faster and easier, and how compliance can play a faster sort of a role in terms of onboarding of these fintechs and startups. Currently, I'm with HDFC Bank. I'm looking at evangelizing the startup ecosystem, introducing new products in the ecosystem. Like we have a new product out called Giga, which is for freelancers and entrepreneurs before they start an organization. So definitely very interesting times. Have seen a lot of changes across B2C, B2B, and then banking. So very excited to be here and very excited to start this journey as well. I think this should be really helpful for the people and the folks in the ecosystem who want some critical question answers, and good to have the light on us as well, and try to be and promise to be as candid as possible in our responses.
No, I think you're a banker, so others are in reg tech, and we have cybersecurity. So how candid is okay. We'll do it on a different show. Feel comfortable. I think there may be things that one may not want to always discuss on a public forum. Totally appreciate that coming from your backgrounds. Just want to take a moment to thank Ayushri and Akhil as well for putting it together. Fantastic work, from going from zero to one, kind of just having the idea to today it's there. I think Eunice was saying that's pretty much been my life for past 14 years. Prabhu, you said 14 years in the fintech. It's nearly 14 years since I've been on my our own building business. So there's something there, 14, I think. But wonderful to have people like Ayushri and Akhil who are not on the camera, but they've done all the work. So
Yeah, it's a brilliant, and thanks Akil and Ashri.
amazing. So yeah, I think one thing is that what we see is that this is money is something that is common to everybody. There could be certain sectors that may not apply to somebody, but when you look at finance or money, the beauty is that absolutely every entity and person has a direct relationship with him every day with money, and that's the beauty of this, right? It's something that is so kind of, I would say, permeating. It's like water. We cannot have an economy, or we cannot even think of living today without money. But back in the, way back, definitely, well, like you said, barter, and probably even before that, it was just going and probably plundering stuff, like just taking whatever you can. We've seen a huge journey, right? So money is artificial. We should realize that money is not something that nature put in the world, right? So humans today, as you say, innovation, we are at the peak of, in terms of money. From smartphones, we are moving to smart money, and I hope that it will give us smart people at the end of the day, right? So, a smarter way of living, at least. So keeping that in mind, couple of topics that today we'll be going through, right? I think looking at responsible AI is one very important core aspect. I think that, in fact, today I put up a post on LinkedIn. I don't know how many of you followed it, but I said the word artificial itself in the artificial intelligence means that it cannot be authentic. The word artificial, when I say something is artificial, it
Yeah.
means it's not authentic.
Correct.
The opposite of artificial is actually authentic, right? And we're looking at now authentic AI, and that's, certain thoughts on how AI progresses, and certain technologies that make it happen, right? So whether LLMs are the answer, or we see much better models to actually, for something as specific and nuanced as finance, can we use a generic AI understanding like LLMs to actually apply to fintech? So one would be, I think, responsible AI, which is, I think, very important and relevant. Another thing I would like to, of course, talk about is a couple of things that India have done brilliantly, right? So I think we're all Indians here. We must all remember, 1,000 years back, the wealthiest country on the planet by far was India. By far, it's not even a contest. 25% of world GDP was from India, and today it's like 2-3%. So we are, again, people who, our ancestors represented a very, kind of prosperous land, though we may not be seeing that today. And it's a very serious way to look at it, because, just imagine if you were in a place where money was no object, like there was just abundance all around. We would not be having this conversation. We'd be like, why? We have it. It's like water, right? But because we are coming from that, post-independence, and now this whole amazing innovation-driven system, it becomes important to discuss this. But I think video, and talking about video also may be important, considering India being almost a billion people who do not know English. Not billion people population, 1.4 population, maybe 1.2 billion do not know English. So whatever tech we are talking about, if it's restricted to English, it's serving already addressed market. So I thought these were the first three kind of open discussions, and maybe all of you can comment on this. We go one round. Maybe start from, maybe Yunus this time. One on, generative AI. Sorry, on responsive AI, right? The second being, of course, I would say video's role, and maybe the third one. I mean, you could pick up any topic that's relevant, and probably, what you think is really, really a core aspect of the future of money.
Sure, Jagan. So it was a good explanation and taking to the topic. So coming to the responsible AI. So uh, more people have heard about generative AI. So that there is a prefix which is fixed to it, a responsible AI. So how to, this is like how to make the AI responsible. So because we are just talking in all the forums like AI, how AI is going to take the future. It has already taken pretty. It has already taken. So directly or indirectly, it has already taken into the face. But with respect to finance, be the money sector, like how it has taken us. So how it is going to be. From a risk perspective, I would like to throw some points like. Today we are like everywhere we are giving our data without knowledge or with the knowledge, like we will be simply clicking it I agree, and we'll be giving our sensitive information, either bank details or OBD, official valid documents like Aadhaar. So a lot of things still DBDP is in progress. So already our data collection is available to everybody. So if you see daily we are getting a lot of calls, and our mobile phones we are using it, and Google is already taking all our information from our mobile phone itself. So already AI has taken us. Like if you see if you are using some bank's application and you will be hovering to some menus, like you will be booking some cab through the bank's app. Suddenly you will get a notification from the other application that you want to book a cab or something like that. So how that app actually knows about your information. So this is how we are. So how to make this responsible? It actually lies with the complete ecosystem, starting from the users. We should build a discipline actually. So like if you are giving your information to anybody, so you should first ascertain yourself that whether I'm giving my information is right or not. So we are going to a merchant and we are doing a Google Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm. We are doing it. The entire information is with everybody, with the bank, and here the other side it's with the TSP. So what is the risk associated with it? And this responsible AI comes starting from the user to the end-to-end financial system, to the entire money flow where it goes. And as you said, the other key areas which is very threatening now is a complete data sensitive information which is lying with every organization, every thing. And quantum threats is coming in. So hope everyone is aware of the quantum threat. So quantum threat is nothing but already the adversaries, which is the attackers, are collecting our information. A simple term to define quantum threat is that harvest now and decrypt later. So quantum computing, like quantum computers, IBM is the pioneer in developing the quantum computers and something. So now they are in building the quantum computing in a way that the computing power is, we cannot even imagine. The computing power is very much enormous. So with that, with these information, that encrypted information, like sensitive information, these adversaries may have with them. But we never know if quantum computing evolves all these cryptographic information whatever we store. Even though you put in all encryption, all technologies, we never knew that how they will use the data. So no encryption methodology will work how strong you use the encryption. That is one of the key aspects which India is looking into. Even if you see one of the recent cybersecurity guidelines which is issued by SEBI. So they have proactively taken this concept and they have issued in their recent August they have released a cybersecurity guidelines, and they have given it, they have proactively given us quantum threats, quantum risks associated, and how to mitigate that, and how whether we are quantum ready. The quantum readiness of the ecosystem, especially with respect to the financial ecosystem, is very much important. And each and every one of us should be aware, and we should actually propagate to the ecosystem, Indian ecosystem, that this kind of risk is actually available. So as a technology owner, like each and every one of us is now having our smartphones with us. So everybody is a technology owner. So it lies is starting from us educating to our family members, to our colleagues, and to our organization where we work, and public forums like speaker forums like this, so that we should educate the entire ecosystem about this specific risk and the limitation of the data. You first limit giving the data, sensitive information, financial information to the public. So without any reason, whether they are getting your consent before sharing it. So of course it will be covered in the DPDP rules, which is yet to get released. But still, the discipline has not came. So ideally, it's our ownership to build the discipline.
Yeah. No, no, wonderfully said, Eunice. I think touched upon many points. I think, yes, each of them is a kind of Pandora's box on its own, right? So, DPDP, I think, again, I'm very proud of India for certain things. Like we launched the video KYC nowhere in the world. I think to make that by Supreme Court order completely, for the OBDs and everything. I think it's phenomenal. It's a leapfrog. We cannot expect 1.4 billion people who don't even have, like, I think basic necessities. Forget about a phone to get onto the system without something like a video KYC. And that was, I think, landmark personally, because we love video, of course, and that's wonderful to see that that happen at a level so high. I mean, like Supreme Court comes in, and I think that was really wonderful. DPDP as well. I think we are all talking. There was a time we were talking about Web3. We're still talking about it. It will happen anyway. But what we have to understand is that it's actually a battle of cultures, right? So typically what I've observed, again, and I'll be pretty candid because this is Vidphone, I feel at home on my platform, but I've always been candid. I mean, I think generally when you look at the AI landscape today, it's governed by one major company. One company is pretty much driving that industry. Of course, everybody else, you may have a few names. All the big guys have one product behind them, but they're all followers. We know that. So whenever you have one company kind of driving an industry, that's very dangerous. And secondly, also that it is a culture of the products we are talking about. For example, today our entire e-commerce. There is, before 10 years back, there was about 10 different e-commerce sites in India who were good. There was Naptol, there was Deals for You, and there were a lot of variety. Of course, the quality was not like today. It used to take a while to deliver and stuff like that. But at least the consumer had choice. And second, that there were many Indian companies. Today, if you look at e-commerce, there are two companies, Walmart and Amazon. And then you come to payments. Today, there were before maybe a Paytm and few other companies who are doing well. Today, there are two companies, Google Pay and PhonePe, Walmart. So Google and Walmart. So the consumer's entire journey from the product discovery on the e-commerce to the payment and through, we are not even there. And they have UPI, Google Pay and look at the other one, PhonePe, are built on India's stack on UPI. UPI is a very Indian thing, and it's the Americans now coming and taking over this. I think that's absolutely crazy to think about. We build out this whole infrastructure and we don't have Indian companies here. So that point of being Indian consumers and aware of what we are doing is a great point, and I think, but that's a really tough one. That's a really tough one, and I've figured it out. It's about UI. They make it so easy to do that you don't even want to reach your pocket. Okay, I mean, you all have your phone in your hand, so you can just go ahead. You don't even want to go to your pocket and pull out the note. That user experience they have perfected, but I think something big gaps in that methodology. So, Prabhu, over to you, sir. I mean, your thoughts on what I said. I mean, some of these topics.
Yeah. So it's a very good perspective coming from Eunice as risk aspects and a lot of data is being exchanged, and people. I mean, Jagat, you have touched a lot of areas like the money, how it will evolve, and what are the technology we have experienced. So if I keep as a common man, right? So bringing all these factors, right? So something called financial literacy. That is the first thing, right? So the financial literacy is, he should have an awareness that, how I will navigate through, right? So if I want to do certain transaction, I need a bank account. That's a first basic thing. Like you have touched on, we have made easy video KYC. So in your time and my time opening an account, we might be spent a week time to get account activated, right? And today you see it's happening instantly. And tomorrow for the Gen Z, it will be seamlessly. That is the expectation. That's
they'll be gone with an account anyway, or something like that.
So yeah, that could be also possible. But like maybe my friend as a banker, and he can think of that products as a regulated aspects. What are the things has to come in? But the point what I'm trying to put is the generation is evolving very fast, and the technology is growing, right? And in today India, almost 70 million of users having a smartphones, right? And there was a time hardly 10% people having it. It's a tremendous change, right? So putting this aspect as money is need for everybody, where there are two things comes to the play. One is the financial literacy and the digital literacy, right? The financial literacy is like, what are the financial aspects like bank accounts and savings products, and the FD, RD, or insurance, or whatever it is, right? So it's a financial literacy, and how I will navigate in a smartphone or a digital mode, right? So if I go ATM, so today also there are cases you can see on a tier 4, 5, 6 cities, they dependent lot with the anybody can assist for ATM withdrawals, right? So it is not the case that everybody can go and they can withdraw themselves, right? So if you see, there are different personalities altogether, and especially like there are visual impairment, they need a support, and there are a lot of things we can bring and we can enable for them, but how we are going to do it, right? So you have a technology, with the technology you can do that. So So which is a classic example I can touch that, the UPI being a UPI when the time we comes for a demonetization and the pandemic, right? So till that time, the penetration of the UPI transaction was very hardly less, and the acceptance of those transactions also less. And coming to the part, the digital literacy or the financial literacy, so like you quoted Google Pay, Phone Pay, and few mobile apps. So they don't need to do anything, just take a mobile and click a scan QR and the payment is done. Yeah, that's the simplicity. So it is basically how inclusively you are thinking and you are creating your product, and how you are going to use the technology to achieve that, right? So that is where you have to take the right balance. So that right balance is important, right? So when you think of, I wanted to build most premier services, then you have to spend a cost accordingly to build that legacy, right? So when you wanted to afford some basic necessity with whatever available, like what is your important goal that you wanted to achieve, and who's your target customer segment, right? So these are all the factors I'm thinking, right? So as a I have been in a side of, part of a UPI technology, and being sometime with the regulator aspects. So when we take for what is a last mile reach, so there's so many products were coming up, and there are so many restrictions. In fact, like Eunice has said, we simply going and give agree, right? So where the process is the need of that particular access, the accessibility, right? So how we are going to enable the accessibility? Definitely, if you ask me to read all the terms and conditions and go for an open account, maybe it's good practice to do, but it is very difficult to understand the common man.
And the font
And
that they write it in is very
yeah, the font is also, you required some, maybe 2-3x power of specs, right?
no, it's done.
So
It's done purposely so that everything. And there is so much content. First of all,
yeah,
they
so
don't want you to read it. So let's make
a
it
lot
very.
of data is important for any technology to help you in terms of understanding, especially coming to the AI. Like the AI requires the data, a lot of data, and the computing power, right? So the more data you have and the more computing power you have, you can able to process and you can bring the quality out. And of course you have to fit towards very responsible framework, like are you meeting the compliance aspects, are you meeting your regulator aspects? Let's say if you are going for a savings or a FD, so then you have to meet the RBI guidelines. If you are going towards a mutual funds, or if you are going for any of the depository products, you have to meet the SEBI guidelines. Or if you wanted to open the NPS per se, so then you have to go for a PFID. There are different regulators in the space who define the rules for that products to have seamlessly and reach for everybody with whatever the PMLA Act or whatever the risk mitigation we have today, right? So it's equal importance for the policymakers and the tech enablers and the system integrators, and everybody is looking towards providing the service to the customer, right? End of the day customer, in terms of retail customer or B2B customer, or whatever, even for a educational hospital or whatever mean, the money is in every place. But in what way we are doing, like, so the student, if he wanted to get the scholarship, like he might be getting a check or whatever the deed is, so he will be wasting that to the bank account. Why can't be, it's a one trigger which the institution can happen and directly give the credit? But there are risks that if the minor accountant comes to the play, and how these things has to be taken, maybe people can touch up on this aspect. But the point is that how good in the combination of the tech, the regulator aspect, the policies, and the product offering, and who's the customer you are targeting, right? To take, of course, technology is here, and even I do agree, technology come with certain risk, and you have to clearly put that what are the risk, what you can offer, what you may not offer, right? So you have to use the tool effectively. I would say the technology is a tool for your business or for your process to help to solve the complex task. So you have to use your tool right combination.
Oh, fantastic. again, Vipul, so I think you also have a very unique perspective coming from, NASCOM, and then coming to, also banking, and before that with, with group, with Ganesh, Meena Ganesh team. I think you have very unique perspective on this, right? So you've seen it go from the consumer to the, organizational side where you're doing with NASCOM, and then you're coming to banking. So what are your insights on, this responsible AI? One from, as a consumer, how can I know that, what is being offered to me is something I can trust, especially when today most of the companies that we are talking about, in this conversation as well, today each of them have three antitrust hearings happening right now, right now, and the most serious kind. Sometimes these are, I think, great technologies, but I think one must also understand what's beyond that technology. Is it about really, what is the motive beyond building this technology? Many times if you look at even the crypto industry, blockchain or the technology may be great for, coin or tokenization, etc. But a lot of them, probably their motivations were not great, and that's what causes the issues many times, right? It's not necessarily the technology alone. It's like the physicists working on the bomb, or anybody else. It could be used in two ways. So your thoughts, Vipul, and across all this. Yeah.
No, thank you so much. I think there have been some really interesting inputs both by Prabhu and Mohammed, and you as well, in terms of sharing how the Indian ecosystem is shaping up with this regards. But I would actually like to start with something what you had mentioned in the beginning, right? India is an old country, right? And rupee as such, or the mode of transaction has been significantly old for us. So it's not very difficult to accept the fact that probably exchange of rupee is as old as making a new language, because as soon as we had that, your buyer was asking how much, right? And that's how the transaction started. Very interestingly, and this is a fact that even I learned quite, I think recently, about a week back or so, is that before dirham, UAE actually used to use rupee as a mode of transaction, and this was between 1957 to 1966.
Not too far
Right.
away.
Right. Yeah, and very interestingly, in the 1960s, before the oil boom, countries like UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman actually utilized Indian rupee as a designated currency. Right. So you have, the older channels where there's so much of trade happening and there's exchange of currencies. Even, in the 60s, you have, rupee being used by different nations. Today, again, there are talks of how rupee can come back again as a mode of transaction, for trade with different countries as well. So we have not been new to innovation when it comes to banking, when it comes to, pushing the envelope in terms of, how do you service your customers. And along with that, what India as a nation has benefited is that we do have a hunger for technology. We do have good resources. We have a know-how in terms of being able to enable it. Now, using those two as a perspective, I would say that AI in India, where it stands today, and again, thanks to the regulatory bodies, is at a very interesting stage. We are talking about responsible AI before we talk about, practical AI. And that has been part of the conversation between most banks and ecosystems and fintechs and NBFCs, that if we are going to use AI to be able to create a product for the people, how do we make sure that it is done in a responsible manner? Now, this discussion started off way before we even started discussing, what could be the possibilities in terms of offering products. How would you be able to, use the data of the customers? How would you create the UX UI, and what sort of segment do we target first, whether it's a regular reg tech or insurance tech, personal loans, whatever that was. So it was very heartening to see that the conversation actually started off from there.
Yeah, fantastic.
Post that, what I would say is that AI in India is still at a very nascent stage. Most of the applications that I've seen are still in the ML space. And it is a little ironic that the human intervention that we talk about is still required here, because there was an example about a year back when we wanted to digitalize P&L statements and balance sheets. Now, to a normal user, you would say that that's one of the most basic formats that any organization would have at the get-go and at the ready. But we realized that there was no tool available that could convert it into a digital format within 24 hours without manual intervention.
Because there are so many entries and differences in the entries and all that. Okay.
Absolutely, right? And different perspective of showing data by different organizations. So that is wherein the challenges lie in India. So a very quick small example that even something which is as standardized as a balance sheet or a P&L is not followed by everybody in its entirety, right? That becomes a challenge.
There's no
So
template.
India,
I mean, there may be a broad template, but there is
yeah,
no, I would say, what do you call, authenticated template. This is what you got to submit. You can always have,
exactly.
variety. Yes.
Exactly. And that is wherein the challenge lies for a country like India, because you have different regions, you have different, business patterns, you have different languages, you have, so many other complications that get added to it, right? So in that capacity, you do require a human intervention. And that's why till now, I've mostly seen a lot of ML-based companies creating solutions, building towards AI, but not really, doing significant work towards AI. Now, in terms of what Mohammed also said a little while earlier, is that when we're looking at AI and we're looking at cybersecurity, the sort of preconditions that we're building around it, the customer data that we're sharing, there are challenges in that space as well. We are talking very closely to regulatory bodies in terms of creating a framework or a sandbox that can be monitored by them, that can then be utilized for the larger audiences so that people can build on it. But we're still about a year or two away from that. The challenge being that we cannot democratize the data that banks have. And that's a very big challenge for us. And we cannot share that data with third party vendors. And inherently, what all that also creates as a problem is that we cannot validate how effective a AI use case is, because that comes from the founder or from the organization, but there's no way that we can use similar data to be able to do that without actually breaking some of the rules. So that's one of the main pain points that we are suffering with. With regards to responsible AI, like I mentioned, it's very heartening to see that we are moving and taking steps when we are building solutions. For example, I was meeting this fintech last week, and when we were looking at building solutions, they were at least 4 steps ahead of us in terms of quoting compliance, than we did as a bank, and that's great to see, because it's ultimately our money at the end of the day. Customers are being taken into account for, and it's with that sentiment that the solutions are being built. And what I've seen as a trend, thanks to events like GFF recently and multiple other forums where the success story of fintech in India is being showcased, is that when you're building that particular solution and if it's acceptable in India, if it works across so many challenges, geographies, people, languages, cultures, right? It's ready for the world. I mean, you can actually pick up something from
Battle
here.
tested, people, and battle tested. It's not just ready for the world. It is like battle tested. So yeah, great point.
Exactly,
India is
exactly.
a testing ground for all the global products. Yeah.
Absolutely. And not only is it battle tested, I would say we also have a lot of people working very closely as testers for us. Now, here I'm referring to people who spend day and night trying to figure out hacks in the systems, workarounds, and then we build the technology to fix that workaround. So it's a very interesting sort of an ecosystem that's developed in the nation, right? And that enables us to take whatever we've created in the nation here and deploy it in other nations, right? Whether it be Africa, Southeast Asia, even Europe and US, for the likes of that matter. So we're at a very interesting juncture that way, and the sort of work that Prabhu is doing, and Mohammed is being able to add, and what you build is a testament to that fact. It's a testament to all of this that is happening. So.
No, absolutely wonderful. I think great point there about end of it has to be useful to the users. In the end of the day, I look at if you look at the currency of olden India, do you know the name? It was rupee now. Of course, you had annas and all that. Annas, they say 4 annas, 8 annas. But before that, the currency was called a pana, Pana, panas. So the Mauryan system, and one of the greatest books on, I would say, finance from India is, of course, Chanakya's Arthashastra, which is called itself Arthashastra, which is quite crazy, right? I mean, he's basically talking about wealth and finance. Yeah. And it is the treaty or the thesis on finance. And I think, so as you said, it is a great point that we have the history of being a country where we have handled this at scale in a very, very big way. Contributing 25% of GDP is not a joke. I mean, and China was doing 24% of the world, for India and China together, did 49% of the world GDP back, 1,000 years ago. So it's not too far away. And every 100 years, we see that there is a new currency that actually takes over. The past, now we are talking about the dollar. Already we are saying how the US dollar is on its decline. Before that, there was the pound. So the British pound was really powerful. Before that, you had the Dutch, I think it was the guilder or the Dutch mark, whatever. And then you had Portuguese, the Spanish, the French. So every 100 years, it's a very interesting observation. Every 100 years, almost the currency changes. And that typically is the currency of the most technologically advanced country at that time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a very interesting point, Jagat. Sorry to, add that point here. Because when we talk about, going digital, when we talk about cryptocurrency, right? While, I love the idea of, being able to use a currency that I would say adaptable and, that much more surplus that anybody can use it globally. The challenges that we've seen in that ecosystem are mitigated by, what countries like India are building, right? It's AI, it's based on blockchain, it's utilizing multiple other revenue channels, it's looking at how do you democratize solutions. But again, it is done in a factor which is regulated, which is very, very critical and very important to safeguard the journey of a currency in a particular manner. So that's why I would still bet on that. While I see probably crypto being the currency of the future, 50 years from now, and taking over, and then exciting stuff happening in that particular space. But we still do have a playground for the next 50 years where hopefully we should be able to leave another mark.
No, I think yesterday I was talking to my dad about this, right? So my dad, he's the person who's written the Companies Act. So, he's always an inspiration for me in the business also, where he's always about compliance first. You don't understand this. You startup founders don't understand compliance first. But we did. And I was kind of, as he was writing the act, I was, probably 22. And I think breakfast conversations, it becomes important to me to comply from the beginning. And that's been our DNA. And, that's how we do it. And very important to understand that the issue with crypto was a lot I would say, to do with corporate governance. If you look at the root of all of the issues would come down to somewhere corporate governance. And even the Indian startups, which have not been in the very positive news, right? I wouldn't name them. I can, but I probably wouldn't. Everyone knows them. A lot of those issues, again, are corporate governance. So I think, again, it comes down to our ethics. It comes to our motivations, right? Why do we want to build a startup or a company? Is it to just grab money from somebody and retire in an island till I'll get caught tomorrow by some Interpol? Because that's the only way it's going to end. Or is it that I want to build this technology to serve society and to leave when I leave, that the society is in a better place, right? So I think that's where India, I think, has got some great advantages, because inherently we have a nature of service here. And it's not just like crony capitalism at scale.
So I'd like to add here, Jagat. So when we are talking about India, right? So India is now, towards build local and take for a global, right? So something called the India stack, right? So the identity layer, where yesterday I was seeing some stats. There are 1.3 billion other IDs were issued to the country. You see the numbers, right? So now this data, which helps you, me, and anybody surrounding us to get the welfare from the government, or enable for me to quickly give my KYC to the financial institutions, right? And for whatever whatever services I wanted to take, so that helps. So next, when we talk about the payments, right? So you, me, and even kid will operate UPI. Of course, they have recently launched a UPI circle, which will be another assisted layer where he can assist for a minor accounts. So that's where it's evolving, right? So India being set the examples of, for many countries, how we can use the technology to the next generations, or in fact we call it as a digital public infrastructure of or digital public goods, right? Where this infrastructure helps you to transact seamlessly, take the authentication service, or a payments, or a digital commerce. In fact, ONDC, you see there are 10 million, I think, right? So 10 million registries hit. So which is a great milestone. When I see these numbers, it's a phenomenal, right? So you, me are getting a service where this is not happening just like the initiatives. There are a lot of fintechs coming and contributing the play, right?
Collaboratively also.
Collaborating. So there are fintech solving the payments problem. There are fintech solving the cyber security issues. There are fintechs coming with a lot of SaaS offering, like for bankers now. I can I wherever I get an opportunity to attend certain banking forums. So they do talk about all the portfolios are run by typically one particular fintech, right? So maybe be it lending or deduping or a credit assessment. So they're coming with the ready products which can be plug and play, which where you can just, you have to provide such infrastructure for them to quickly get in and get activated. It's like you are installing the app and you are setting your configuration and turning on for the transaction. So that fast we are riding, and definitely this will contribute more to the digital economy. I see a lot of positive grounds here. So innovation and the fintech contributions, and a lot of fintech entrepreneurs, from different regions of our countries is growing day by day. That's fantastic to see. And the point what I can make for them is, as you highlighted, complaints first, right? So what are you trying to solve, and what who's your target customer, and what you wanted to solve for them, and have you considered the inclusive factors? Because when you putting this particular tool, it will not be a one persona who going to address. So there are different personas in the landscape, right? So the ATM is a classic example, right?
Absolutely beautiful example, Prabhu, of visually impaired ATM case. I think
Yeah. So how? So they also required some financial services. So what are we going to do for them, right? So I think uh, there are good decent number of that communities are there. So how are we going to solve them? So they're slowly coming up. You can see many railway platforms. There is a assisted mode, and how what we can do for a financial sector for them. So,
no,
so
great.
probably this technology can come in, and this AI should help them to enable such platforms.
No, it would be great CSR initiative for most banks as well.
Yes.
Something great for even the political system. They're doing something great for people. So I think that's a great point. Eunice, I think over to you. I think coming to the essence that I get is that yes, there is a lot of positive stuff that can happen, but we got one problem, and that's the security. Okay, there is ultimately it comes down to okay security or more broadly risk mitigation. Your risk,
So
risk.
every innovation comes with a risk.
Yes.
Of course, we need to challenge Unis.
So that's why we have Eunice here, who is the expert on not only telling us about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
problems, but how do we solve these problems of
Yes.
security. So,
Sure, Jagan.
your
Yeah.
thoughts on how these things can
So
be mitigated? Yeah.
that's where I was about to coming in. Like Prabhu and me work on two different extremes. Like he will be running towards innovation. I'll be stopping him. So that's how it is. Like there is always risk how fast we run. So ideally, there are risks. Like see, I'll tell you, Indian financial ecosystem is one of the most targeted system across the world. So the adversaries are majorly targeting the Indian ecosystem, financial ecosystem, just to spoil their reputation. It's not about other stuffs, just to spoil the reputation. So I do not have to mention who is that, and because a lot of countries are targeting. Like, see, as Prabhu rightly said, there is a branding which is created from. If you see from 2014, there are a lot of schemes which is created by our Indian government. So one of the most critical thing is that UPI, and we have brought UPI to other countries as well. So UPI has become international. It's not only global. So international, you can go to Dubai, you can make UPI payments. So which is a nightmare for even for America, if you see. And with respect to the card infrastructure, we know two major players were dominating the entire world. But now you can see
Nuclear.
like we are
Nuclear.
dominating.
Yeah.
Rupee, we are dominating. We are providing. We are being issuers. We have gone international. So that is where the risks are coming in. So like, see, ideally there were risks. Now I can say, like, with the card infrastructure, government has taken a lot of measures to curb the frauds which is happening through cards internationally. And ideally now nobody is using cards mostly. It has gone away, unless until there is a need. Nobody is using cards. Even there is
No, no,
ICCW
Eunice, I like to
in,
just differ from this view. The card transaction penetration it's a as usual healthy growth, like 2% or 3% you see the RBI state. But when you are compared to UPI, it's a way long distance. So
no, no. See,
that's
no,
where you
I'm
know.
not coming there, Prabhu. So what I was saying is, like, ideally you don't have to carry a card, like that physical security base. I'm saying,
Yes,
like,
yes.
ideally you don't need to carry a physical card to the ATMs. Like, even you can
But
withdraw
still,
through
card
UPI.
is required to activate your UPI. That's the point.
Obviously,
Yes.
that is there.
Hopefully, it can be done in a better way, so we don't need it. I don't know.
Yes.
Coming to, also, yeah, going on, Eunice, you were saying.
So, like, there are risks involved. Regulators play a major role in that. So, regulators actually foresee, like, what kind of risks are happening, proper adequate risk assessments are happening, because we are now into open banking architecture. Like, some 6 7 years back, if you see, if you are meeting your friend, hey, which mobile banking app you use, they will say, like, some of the banks name, SBI, HDFC, whatever it is. Like, now if you say, if you make a transaction, like, I'll do Google Pay, Phone Pay, that's it. That is the way which we are now. And the underlying bank account, even we are not even using that bank account application, mobile banking application. Ideally, maybe a very few of the people use, but
Just for
ideally
the
nobody
statement
uses
print
that.
out annually, probably to send the CA.
Yes,
Yeah,
ideally the
it's
banks
become a
are,
very easy candid for doing
yes,
transactions. Yes.
ideally the banks are exposing their APIs, like critical infrastructure, to all the fintechs, and it's open banking architecture. The risk is underlying ideally with the banks, so they are only handling the people's money. So that's where, like, regulators like RBI have they are very stringent on the cybersecurity measures, on penalizing the financial institutions, not only banks, the other infrastructures as well. So with respect to cybersecurity risks, so, like, from a regulator perspective, and on an annual basis, I think adequate assessments are being carried out from RBI perspective as well as the other regulators, to ensure that your critical infrastructures are being secure. So, globally, if you see our cybersecurity policies, our cybersecurity procedures and assessments, risk assessments are way far better than the other players. Like, you have Australian cybersecurity, like Singapore cybersecurity, like a lot of policies and procedures are in place, but we are way far ahead, and that way we can proud. But in cybersecurity perspective, we cannot be proud every time. Like, anytime risk is lying in your head, so there will be sword on top of your head at any time you will be hit. So whether we are ready with that, and major challenge we have in this criteria is the skill gap. So we are lack of skills. Cybersecurity skills are very less, and the gap is growing day by day, because it's not only cybersecurity you need to deal with. You should know the underlying technologies, like blockchain is coming up, digital rupee has came in.
So yeah,
Like,
I
what is
like
the,
to add one
yeah.
point, Eunice. So as an emerging tech now, most of the initiatives coming are cloud-based initiatives, where the important aspect is the cyber security and the cloud security, because all your processing controls data resides in this aspect. So this expertise is the next focus, and a lot of skill set demand which going to rise, and whomever viewers watching. So I think this is a better place.
A classic example, Prabhu, I mean, if I just say exactly what you're saying, is Bitcoin. Bitcoin was not a banker, or started by a banker. It was started by a programmer. And that's the beauty. And that's exactly what we're talking about. The next big money disruption is not going to come from a banker or a regulator. It's going to come from programming. It's definite, that's for sure. But people, I have, going on from Eunice's point and also Prabhu's to you, because everything comes to the banks, right? Ultimately, banks are the custodians of the money. So from your point of view, right? So definitely the card versus onboarding, or using without the card is a lot like the digital money itself, the logistics and the replacement and the fraud, and you have so much of unnecessary things when you have a physical card. Similarly, with, let's say, the olden days, we had securities like shares. Company shares used to be physical papers, literally paper. Today it's all dematerialized, so everything is virtual. So coming from a banker's perspective now, and as one of the leading banks, or the leading private bank in India, obviously you have some insight into this, right? So do you want people to kind of go with card in India, or do you want people to just go with Google Pay? But the sad part is that I don't see any Indian entity here. I mean, you have either Visa, MasterCard here, or you have Google Pay and Walmart here. What are we going to do?
So I think that's an interesting opportunity for people to fill in. Like, Prabhu mentioned earlier, we are working in the capacity of building collaborations with fintechs. We're openly talking to NBFCs, fintechs, and other organizations that can build solutions. We are giving out a UPI APIs. We are also making sure that our teams are there, to talk people and, build collaborations here. So that's definitely there. But to share some perspective in terms of how banks are looking at these transactions now, we were at a conference where we had multiple bankers from across the country, and we were discussing, what does the future look like? And very interestingly, the question that came to us that how many interventions, do the bank want in terms of a transaction? And I think the unanimous answer was that the future is where a banker would actually be invisible. We don't want to be involved in the process. We don't want to create any more laggards in terms of being able to do a transaction. Ideally for us, if you can do transaction at the speed of thought, that works out best, right? And that's the sort of solution we are working towards in terms of building, and that's what the future also looks like. So yes, in current scenario, cards and these sort of formats definitely help. But with newer technologies coming, we are more excited about how do we make that digital. How do we reduce that as well? As one of the processes involved. How do we cut down on the processes, right? How do we make transactions faster? How do we make sure that these transactions are successful? And we're also looking at how do we keep a record of these transactions that can be used by customers to reduce the pain point. So anybody who's viewing this and who's thinking about what else can we do in this space, this particular area, like Jagat, you mentioned, that's an open area. People can jump into that. Embedded finance that enables us to do better customer service and open up better opportunities for the B2B side. That is a very exciting sector as well. AI definitely goes without saying that there's so much that needs to be done in this space that wherever you start, to be able to build solutions, you will find takers in the Indian banking ecosystem. So that's there. But also think from a perspective that how do you reduce processes? How do you reduce consumer complaints? And how do you make understanding or opening up, new avenues to bank with newer people that probably today might not be banking or using digital because of language as a barrier, because of technology as a barrier, because of hardware as a barrier. So these are the key areas that we're looking at. And again, if you can enable us to be invisible, nothing like it.
No, perfectly said. I think more and more like we go towards a peer-to-peer economy, what pretty much Bitcoin and crypto all are peer-to-peer. But before we get to that state, there would be an intermittent state where you have a peer, a node would well be a bank, and the peers are the people connected, and the kind of stages of the money passing would be reduced, right? Then that may be a great point. I think now we're coming to the end in a few minutes. So I know it's a Sunday, family day for everybody as well, and I think it's been wonderful. But before we close, obviously, two things that everybody I would like your views. So one, what are the big opportunities and limitations? One or two areas from your specific areas that if you see, and typically we're looking at opportunities, right? Something that people can run with, and something that you are, that you feel is a big blocker towards that goal. And then, of course, I would get to my next question. So before that, this one, opportunities and limitations in your fields. One or two of them. Yeah, starting with maybe Vipul first this time, or maybe
So I think one major opportunity that people can jump on is figuring out how do we make UX and UI better for multiple product offerings. You can pick up any one of them and figure out how do we do this better. Even if you pick up Google Pay, right, and you're able to identify a better way and a faster way to do it, they will actually sponsor that sort of discussion with them internally. So that's where we are. That's the need of the hour. So if we can figure out better solutions there, nothing like it. The second aspect would be that if you are very keen on the AI space, please start looking at what are the APIs that are currently available for different banks, different regulatory bodies, and how can you add value to that? How are you building logic to that? And how are you making that logic, right, encompass and open to more people in India to be able to bank with us? So those are the two key opportunities that I would say are present. The threats, I would say two key threats would be that one, things are moving really fast. It's an open ecosystem now. People are very aware, so products are being built at the rate, I would say much faster than it was 5 years back. So please keep close attention to what your competitors are doing, what is happening in the ecosystem. Secondly, I would say also please interact with banks wherever possible, because we are helping people understand compliance in a better way, not only from the written word, but also from the spirit of compliance point of view. We're also having discussions with the regulatory bodies where we do take queries and say, hey, this is a fantastic product, it's a great idea. Can we modify compliance around that? So these are the two places that I would say please pay close attention to. They can be, potential showstoppers, but there are workarounds for that. So, yeah.
No, wonderful insights. UI, UX, and in terms of AI, look at the available APIs and limitations. Obviously, the number of products being developed, product development, and of course with the banks. So, Prabhu, over to you. What are from where you see it as innovation person? Yeah.
Yes. So, as a innovation perspective, the opportunities are more, right? When you ask, just figure it out two things for the country like India. So, you think the inclusive, where you see larger chunk of customer segment is missed out, where you can using a technology and you can fill one of that is the multilingual or vernacular, right? So which will help your whatever product offerings which is aligned to your UI UX, which will able to understand by the end user. So that's the great opportunity. This will be a plugin for any players. You take a financial institution or a system integrators or a bankers or anybody. So this is a great opportunity. Country like India, hardly 30% of urban populations are just we are driving the digital things. Think of the rest of 60-70% were left out, right? So largely can come in. And the second thing is that the AI can play a potential role in credit authorization segment to the financial institutions, right? So today, to get approved the home loan or MSME loan or you take any collateral products, on a ground it takes weeks to months. So where your AI can come and solve this complexity if you are building very responsible and authentic, and if you are meeting all the compliance. And in fact these points were referred in the GFF by RBI governor, right? So this is a big opportunity where you can use AI and with the responsibility and the inclusive and the authenticity, you can solve this problem, which will enable larger lending segments. And coming to the limitations, the very first thing what I think is the cyber security, right? So cyber security in two aspects. As a customer, how you are vulnerable towards the fraudster world or the cyber risk aspects, and the financial institutions are how they are vulnerable in terms of attacking in terms of financial loss or reputation loss or whatever mean, right?
Repercussions or the impact of that.
Yes. So these are all the limitations, but I think the right risk mitigation control will help to overcome. So the change will always come with a risk and success.
Absolutely. I think we all have electricity. This is running on electricity. I think we remember the time when what's his name, Thomas Edison, was strapping up dogs and getting them electrocuted, saying this is dangerous with AC. So today we have AC in our house and we just use it like second nature. It's a great example how
Vande Bharat, now it's a very successful journey where we are all enjoying that, right? So
yeah,
exactly.
Yes.
Over to, I think the main concern Prabhu is saying is that it's cyber security. So I think Yunus will say that the main limitation is actually innovation now. The more you innovate, the more cybersecurity issues I have. So over to you, Yunus. Yeah.
Of course, Rajat, actually, the principle of security is driven by business. So, ideally, innovation is one of the major business requirements, which is the order of the day. So, ideally, we are moving towards smart money. So, whatever opportunities I could see is like, so you could pitch in like government's major agenda is making cashless economy. So, still, the cash is not gone away, even though after demonetization or something, cash is the king now. So ideally, that opportunity we can fulfill the government's agenda by doing that. Ideally, threat would be, I think Prabhu has covered with respect to cyber security. Like this is one of the major risk, and other risk I could see is like, see, this is not on a negative side, but still the brick and mortar kind of branch banking is going away now. So nobody is like, what about the traditional banking culture? How it may go in future? So I could see that as one of it is. It is not a risk actually. It is one way. If you see in the positive disruption side, it is a good, but still we have one set of people, as Prabhu said, that inclusion people. So what about the future of them? So that is one of the threat I could see.
I think that's where also the market lies. I think now it's all about how can this 1.1 billion people in India who are outside of this, English speaking urban, audience. I'm sure, their growth story. Of course, it has to be deposited at certain institutions like a bank. So, writing that journey becomes very important. So I think this has been an amazing session. I think there have been a few questions from the audience as well. I think in the interest of time, to be honest, we have actually covered most of the questions. I'll just share it with the panelists as well. All of them around things that we have already discussed. So just want to say it's been a wonderful session. Any parting notes or, I think we're good. Maybe one last line from everybody, start. Anybody can start and, go ahead and would love to hear your last line. Yeah. Anybody can go first. Yeah.
So, Prabhu?
Change is growth. So
change is growth. Wow.
Keep motivated and look for innovation. Definitely you and me are making a better world for tomorrow.
Amazing. That's an amazing one. Change is growth. Anybody? I think next.
I would simply say stay innovative, stay compliant.
Nice. So this is the ethical Steve Jobs version. I like that. It's not stay hungry, stay foolish, but wonderful.
So the banker comes with all the compliance aspect.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
This is all the viewers who are there from the regulatory side. So yes, that we make sure that we spread the word. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's very important as well. And again, I think folks like my dad, folks like Vipul are playing a big role in building reputation in the economy, right? So, when you have a kind of flaky economy built with lack of ethics, you don't build long-term reputation as a place where you can trust. So very important. I'm super glad that you mentioned fintechs are coming with this, compliance idea first, because it's very, very important. We're playing with people's money, building a tool, and suddenly it disappears. Like one of the recent crypto exchanges, right? Guys have they've kind of dumped it on the users. Whoa, that's unbelievable. It's a lot of loss. And India, being a poor country generally, it affects a lot more. $1,000 gone from an American's bank account is not the same as $1,000 gone from an Indian's bank. And that's where it's very important for us.
Absolutely.
Your last message.
Yeah, Jagat. So ideally, innovation and security are two sides of the rails. Like balancing these two is very much important in this. So ideally, risk management plays a major role. So and change is ideally inevitable. So this change and risk management, how you drive towards the innovation, that is the key agenda towards the maybe like next 50 years.
Fantastic. No, this has been amazing. I think it's been a fantastic 1 hour plus interaction. Want to thank all the panelists for taking out time. Prabhu, of course, for initiating this. Vipul, Eunice as well. Akhil and Ayeshri as well for coordinating everything. And a special thank you to all our audience watching this live and on all the social channels. Have a wonderful Sunday evening. Have a great week ahead. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Jagat. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.